back to another episode of Up Against the Wall with Mike Nichols. I'm your host, Mike Nichols, and we are part of Purple Wall Stories, a platform where you can submit short stories. They compete against each other, and voters decide. It's awesome. You can check it out at purplewallstories.com, as well as on Facebook and Twitter. I am joined today by an amazing writer who is the author of the Waverly Estate trilogy and is, I believe, referred to as a recovering family mediator. Please welcome NT Maliha.
Hello. Hi, Mike. Thanks.
Hi, I'm so happy to have you with us today. So, first question, please tell us, what have you written? Like, what are you known for? And what are you currently working on with your writing?
I am currently writing on something I've titled The Little Numinous. But I think what most people would recognize me for are my Waverly Estate books. Mm-hmm. First, Waverly Estate Ghost Dance, Waverly Estate The Murmur, and the last in the trilogy is Waverly Estate Betwixt. And I've also got The Meek, Divorced by Murder, and The Bone Flute.
Awesome. Now, the Waverly Estate, is it maybe going to have a fourth book in it, or is it still going to stay a trilogy?
You know, I never quite felt that the ghosts were done. So there's maybe something I'm playing with that may be outside of the main story of Waverly Estate. Maybe some of these sprites will go traveling somewhere else. Possible.
That's a very mysterious answer. Perfect for that trilogy. My next question for you is, how did you become a writer?
I think that writing is something that I always enjoyed. I was surrounded by writers, musicians, artists in my family. So it was kind of an easy step for me to use all the craziness that sort of family dynamic produced. I think it was an escape for me. And when I wasn't really sure that I could write anything, my 7th grade English teacher wrote, after I had handed in a story to her, she said, "You write the most beautifully weird stories. Don't ever let anyone tell you that they're not worthy of being read." And she duplicated pretty much that in my yearbook, my 7th grade yearbook, and I have it to this day. And when I get discouraged, I open the yearbook and I look at Miss Santana's words, and it encourages me. I hide behind them, but I do that.
Who are some of the writers who've inspired you?
Well, I would like to say Stephen King, but he irritates me. And as a matter of fact, I have one of his books I've been trying to do, Rose Madder. It's been sitting here, honestly, I think it's been sitting there probably for about 2 months. And I think it's his he'll never hear this, right? But I think his writing has become so contrived and so formula that I know what he's going to say. I know how he's going to say it. He does his one little sentence quirk things that he likes to repeat all through. And I don't get it.
Yeah.
I really don't get it.
I've never watched this, so it's fine. You can
That's just how I feel.
So now we know which writers you don't like. Who are the ones that have inspired you is the question.
Oh, I think every writer that I have ever read, not to cop out on this, but everyone from Sarah Teasdale, right through.
Just not Stephen.
Writers, because I just love the written word. I love that people can take you places that you could never go otherwise. And while some sentences may be awkward or you don't quite get it, they still take you somewhere. So I think we can learn even from things that we might think aren't so great. And I think we're transported there with whoever whatever they're writing, whoever's writing, you go there.
That's actually
I love that.
Oh yeah, I love that too, and that's actually a perfect lead into my next question, which is, writers are such creative people, and our imaginations take us everywhere, and we get so many different ideas. But how do you kind of narrow it down to decide what to write about? Like the process of writing and focusing on a book, it takes a long time, it takes a lot of research, it takes a lot of work. How do you decide which idea to pick of like the millions ideas you probably get every day? Like, how do you kind of narrow it down to, no, that's the one I'm going to write about?
If it feels true,
Hmm.
even in fiction, if it feels true, that's what I want to write. I have a trunk filled with started um, manuscripts that felt so false to me. I'm not one of those writers who will take garbage that I know is garbage and then try to make it into a flower. If I feel like if you're forcing it, you're being a formula writer, and I can't be that. If it doesn't carry some understory to it, I become completely disinterested in it. So, I mean, I think the first thing I ever published was about a road trip that my parents took with me when I was really small from Long Island. And I mean, it was a true story. And it was about the tourists that we were one of, and that how I never imagined I would actually end up living here. So I can go that spectrum. I've published some poetry, but it has to feel real. It has to feel real. I can't just come up with a basic idea. Something has to strike me. I mean, I've written notes on my shoes when something is, I have no paper, but here's my pen. I've literally scribbled on my shoes to remember something. My hands.
I want to try a hand next time, MT.
Well,
Ruin your
no,
shoes.
no. What can I tell you? If I said I was without quirks, I'd be lying. So,
I do love the idea of you just walking around some kids that just are completely inked up with notes and red ink and stuff.
yep.
Do you,
That's,
I mean, you live out in the beautiful Catskills. Do you have any kind of physical process or discipline to your writing? Like, do you like kind of need to get up at like 7 a.m. and write for an hour every day? Or do you have a certain chair you like to sit in or a place you like to go? Is there any physical process to writing that you
yeah. I must walk my dog. I must walk my dog. That's not by choice. He demands that. And, I make myself my cup of tea,
Mm-hmm.
and I just close my office door, and I just go. I just go until I can't go. And then when I feel like there's still something there, but I can't find it, I go out back and I walk in my woods. I go out to the creek. That's really my process.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been reading a lot, especially on Twitter, about writers arguing, should they be more regimented? Should they say, no, I write between these hours and these hours, and I have to write 1,000 words? Oh no, I don't think I could do that.
Yeah, it definitely works for some people, but not for everyone. I'm definitely someone like you who I love to go for a walk just to clear my head, maybe even get some vocal exercise in or start talking like the characters back and forth. And I mean, I must look crazy sometimes just walking through the woods, talking in different voices as I'm like trying to carry a conversation. But you're totally right. Like I'm one of those people that nature is really helpful for me. And I'm glad your dog Micah gets to go for a walk as part of it too.
Yeah, he's decided to stop knocking things over, so that's good. Well, we're morning humans, so I can't be one of those writers who stay up all night writing and like drinking booze and smoking cigarettes. Right? I can't do it.
What is the secret to getting published? I mean, there's so many writers who are fantastic writers, but their writing will never see an audience. You have a trilogy of books as well as some other books that are out. What's the secret that you found to taking your writing from just being on your computer to being available for the masses? What's the secret to getting published?
Um, Courage. If you've really invested yourself in what you've written, you'll understand that not everyone will like what you write, including publishers or agents. But if you believe in it and you keep knocking on the doors open, they eventually open. You just have to be careful which one's open for you. Don't jump at the first door.
Yeah, that's a really good piece of advice. And this is actually kind of a wrap-up question I have I always like to try to ask 7 questions that are kind of the same for every writer. The last question I have is, what is one piece of writing advice that you would give to writers?
Don't fake it.
Mm.
Don't fake it. Don't write what is popular now. Be whoever it is that you are. You know, I have a jacket from 1977 that for a good space of 20 years, no one would be caught dead in it. But guess what? Everybody's wearing that jacket now. And writing isn't that different. Just be true to whatever it is that you're writing and believe in that, and ignore, get a thick skin and ignore people who say differently, because you can do this. If it's in your heart to express yourself in that way, just do it.
Yeah, that's a great answer. And this actually kind of leads me into the next questions I wanted to ask. I wanted to ask at least 3 questions that were kind of just about you and just about your pieces. The first one I had was actually about some of the themes of your book. I would say that death seems to be kind of one of the main themes that you continually keep going back to. Even kind of when we were emailing each other, I think you said to me that you look for, you lean toward the shadow places, the unknown, the forgotten, the abandoned. Why do you think that that's a subject in your writing that you just keep coming back to? What is it about the truth you find in those kind of heavy themes that you just really want to and need to write about?
Because no one really knows for sure what's in any shadow place. No one knows. The biggest mystery is in the not knowing, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't think that I don't have a dark spirit. I have a very light spirit. So when confronted with dark, whether it's like the old mansion that I based my trilogy from, or just a person that I've met that's homeless, or a sick person, I don't just see the dark and light in them. I always look for what is the gray shades. The gray shades to me say more about a person or a place than the most illuminated part of any person or any part of any building that I may write about. I like the in-between spaces. There's a lot of room in there to explore and reach back and forth between light and dark. But you always somehow come back to the middle, right? No matter what it is in life, I think there's that medium. We just keep crossing back and forth over that gray line. And I'm fascinated by that. I've always been.
Another question I have for you about your work is not necessarily a writing question, but it is a question as the author of these books. Your covers, the cover art for your books are really great. And I'm curious because that's something that a lot of writers have to deal with, but I don't really hear writers talk about it as much, where, you know, you've created this book, but then the cover is so attached to what you've written. And you've got some really nice ones. I think why am I blanking on the name?
Bone flute.
Yeah, the cover on that one's really great. The Meek.
The bone flute.
Yeah, the cover's beautiful. The Meek.
Thank you.
Is an incredible cover.
Thank you.
Just the Waverly Estate, like those, they look so haunting and ghostly. Like, how do you go about selecting the cover art, choosing it? What is the process that an author goes through when trying to pick the cover art for their book?
Well, I've always, I still do when I can. I do a lot of photography. I do a lot of painting. I have thousands and thousands of photographs in the vault. So when I've completed a book, or sometimes even actually as I'm doing them, I'll think about what do I have, and I'm very well organized with how I categorize my images, and I just start going through them. And I like to make composites. So sometimes if something's not exactly right, I kind of combine them. But as far as the Waverly Estate series went, I tried to make them as harmonious as possible, because obviously it's a trilogy. So I didn't want to go from really bright and, you know, I just want to try to keep them pretty much the same. The last one, I didn't do the entirety of the cover for Betwixt. His name is Sammy Williams. He is actually the person on this cover. And I mean, he's an incredible photographer, and I think people should check him out. Sammy Williams, Sammie. But I did the back art and I did the composites on it. So we kind of worked together in that way on the last one. It was just perfect for the main character in Betwixt.
So I have one last question for you that's specific to your work before we jump into a couple fun questions. But the last question I have for you related to your specific process with your books. You talked about you have to write what's true, and so many writers, we write about our own experiences. You were a family mediator for many, many years.
Therapist and mediator, yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious about what truths and experiences you had and what you learned from that type of work. Very, very tough work, very challenging, mentally and emotionally for sure. What did you learn from that experience and that job that you brought into the work and the writing? And I'm really curious if, the aptly named Divorce by Murder was maybe, if that was at all inspired by your own experiences in family.
Oh, well, I'll tell you.
Yeah, I mean, someone who's a family mediator writes a book, Divorce by Murder. You have to ask, like, hey.
You can legally do so much in a book that maybe, not that I would ever think anything like this. But you could do so many things in a book that you obviously could never legally do otherwise. And so I showed a person the first chapter of Divorce by Murder, and he very quietly sat and patiently read. Never read anything of mine after that, I must tell you. And this, because that was written actually a very long time ago. That was one of the first I've ever written. And he looked at me and he said, "Why did you write about me?" So, well, that's about as personal as I'll get with that. But yes, family mediation, you draw from all the things that you see. What I liked is that, unlike a lot of family therapy or mediation, you don't always get to see the end. You don't always see the end result. People drop away, they do their 6 or 10 weeks with you, whatever, and they're gone. And I never like that. I like conclusions. I'm a conclusions person. I like ends. So maybe I drew from me. Maybe I drew a lot from other people, particularly for that book.
Yeah, it must have also been a job where you got to see so much about, like, just the rawness of people, like at their hardest, at their most emotionally lean moments. Like, you're working in it every day and then trying to, professionally get some kind of connection with them.
I think, like we've spoken about, because I like shadow places so much, I don't necessarily think it was a good thing for me, for clients, because sometimes things are just what they appear to be. But I'm more of a dreamer and a hoper and have great faith in people.
Yes.
And I think the disappointments have been that, particularly when working with children, you can't fix that. You can't rewrite that. You can't fix a lot. There's a lot you cannot fix. But when I write, people that have been in my office are all over my books, very well hidden, but I give them conclusions. I give them the hope that they didn't have. I give them the happy ending I know they didn't get. So maybe it's silly to say it that way, but I think writing has been my therapy.
Yeah.
I've therapized myself.
Yeah, writing. I think all writers use it for some cathartic means, and I'm really glad you got to do that, and I'm really glad
Me
that you
too.
had those experiences and able to integrate stories. I think that's beautiful.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And now we get to ask some fun questions.
Oh, goody.
This was actually this was a very complimentary question. I must say so myself. So you've had some great reviews that I saw. One person wrote, "You are quote tapped into the mystic of macabre." Another reader said, "I discovered personal things about my views of the world and myself. MT Maliha is that kind of writer." These are nice things.
Oh,
These
yeah.
are very nice
Yeah.
things that people have said about your writing. Here's my question
Yeah.
for you. What do you think is the ultimate writing compliment? Like, this is like, wow, if a writer heard this, this would be the best possible compliment a writer could get.
I was that person. I was there. Again, I gave someone an ending they wouldn't have otherwise had. I gave them an answer they wouldn't have had. I would love that. If somebody could tell me that, I'd be happy. I wouldn't lay my pen down, but I'd be happy.
Yeah.
I'd keep going.
That would be a gem to hear that. That would be gold.
Yeah.
That's a really good answer. Next question. What's a literary character's death that hit you the hardest? You're reading a book, you're into it, you're loving these characters, and then they die, and you're like, no. What's the hardest death you've ever read? Doesn't have to be one of your own. It can be anything.
I don't know. I tend to notice the ones that I think deserved it the most. I don't know. I tend to divorce myself from that feeling. I think I just read things as they're written. And when I kill someone off, it's because they've really needed to go. I've never killed off anyone personally in any of my books that didn't deserve it.
I was like, you just
I just refuse to kill the good guys,
Hey, no one dies, guys. It's fine. I remember, so I think you'll like this story. I had a friend in college who came to improv practice just really, really in a foul mood. And we were like, "Are you okay?" And he was reading Game of Thrones at the time. And the show wasn't out yet. Only readers knew about Game of Thrones at the time. And he had read the infamous Red Wedding scene where one of main characters are just taken out. And he apparently screamed through the book in a fury and had to take a walk. He was so upset, and he couldn't even go back to the book for a while. He was so just broken. And we were like, "What is wrong with you? Are you in a foul mood?" I was like, "I'm reading this book, and it just I can't believe this just happened. All the characters died." We didn't understand until years later. The show came out, and I watched it. And I remember seeing that scene. And I was like, "No!" All of television was just floored by it. And I remember I texted him the next day, and I was like, "I think I just saw the scene you read 10 years ago when we were in college." Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Literary deaths are just devastating. They're devastating, even though they're fictional. We just care so much about them.
Okay, then I take it back because I confess I have been a Walking Dead fan. I do not like the spin-offs. No.
Okay.
But I confess, even as the show has gotten worse and worse and worse and worse, I continue to watch it because now I just have to, because I've invested in it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you're invested.
It wasn't enough that they bashed Glenn's head in, right?
Oh yeah.
They had to kill what's his name too. Unnecessary roughness. I see no point to this. That aggravated me. I have to say that annoyed me.
Glenn's definitely Walking Dead. Yeah, was heartbroken. Yeah. Oh man, that's a good one. Most of the internet would agree with you on that one.
It was unnecessary.
I've got one last fun question for you. Okay. So this is a reviewer. I read one of the reviewers said of your books. The book, I think it was the first Waverly Estate book. The book kept me captivated with the mystery and curiosity. I could definitely see a movie series with this book. So, would you ever want to adapt your books to a movie series? And if you say yes, who do you want to star
Can you keep a secret?
in? No, because this is going on YouTube.
But I'll whisper.
Okay, yeah, go ahead and whisper.
This is the part where I carefully phrase
Okay. Oh, okay.
due to contracts and things like that. There is interest. There is a screenplay being written for the Waverly Estate trilogy. The person who will be collaborating with me.
You don't want you
How
to
can I
say,
say?
if you, I don't want to get you in trouble. So, are you allowed
Well,
to say this?
what?
Are you allowed to say this? I really don't want you to get in trouble if you're going to say anything.
No, I can say some.
Okay.
But the person that's doing this with me
Yes.
has some amazing connections, and I'm thrilling. I'm really excited about it. I can see it happening. And who would I want to play it? I can see Jeffrey Dean Morgan playing one of the really, really, really bad ghosts.
Okay.
I can see that.
Interesting.
I can definitely see that. And that's all I'm going to say.
Very interesting. Okay. Jeffrey D. Morgan, I apologize. I don't remember who you are.
You don't know who Jeffrey, look it up quickly.
Yeah, I know who he is. Okay, he's in Walking Dead. Yes. Okay, I know who Jeffrey Dean Morgan is.
Him.
Yes.
He's actually an incredible actor.
Very
And
sinister.
he lives not far from here, actually. He lives not far.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Huh.
Yeah.
Well, I'll wrap this up before you spill any more secrets. Congratulations on your wedding and any potential future you might have. If anyone wants to find out more about you and read more of your stuff, where can they go? You have your website, mtmaliha.com.
Yep.
What else do people need to know?
That's all they can. If they go there, they can find everything. They can hunt me down on Twitter. They can try to find me on Facebook. I'm pretty easy to find. I think MT Maliha is pretty easy to track down.
I also want to give you a shout out because you are going to be one of the writers coming up in the big purple book of badass stories. So Purple Wall.
I love it.
Purple Wall Stories is publishing a book of all the best from the last year, all the best short stories, all the best writers. You are an honorary writer who's going to be in that book. And that is available already. I think it's out. It's on.
It is. I got a copy. It's beautiful.
Oh, great! Yeah, I haven't got my copy yet, but it's available. You can buy it in print. It's on the website. It's also available for download if you want to read it digitally, and that's available at purplewallstories.com. So
great. It's a great compilation.
Yes, and I'm looking forward to reading it and to reading your story in it. Thank you so much for chatting with me. This has been a blast. Any final thoughts as we wrap up?
No, but thank you. And I think Purple Wall's doing some amazing stuff. Do not get discouraged. It is wonderful. You're giving hope to people, and there's some amazing, amazing writing going on out there. And I'm happy for that. I'm happy for you. It's great.